is up, guys? This is Quincy Carrier, and this is the show Q&A, where I take your questions from Twitter and from YouTube and answer them here on this show in video form. And this week, we're just going to jump right into it. First question comes from Sean Ballantyne, who says, who will be the offensive and defensive rookie of the year? I think the defensive rookie of the year will be Devin Bush for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's going to fit really well there and have a great rookie season. He's going to be the face of that Steelers defense in his first year. He's going to be that missing piece that defense has needed for years. They have a lot of support up front for him, and there is just a great system in place. He's a great fit. I think that's a great situation for Devin Bush to walk in and to be a major factor in his rookie year. For offensive rookie of the year, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I don't think there's any other offensive threat. There's no running back. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a spectacular season as far as highlights go. I don't know how well he's going to be as a passer, but I do think Kyler Murray is going to put up really, really nice numbers under the Cliff Kingsbury system. If Cliff Kingsbury's history is anything to show, that means that, Kyler Murray is going to put up great numbers. He's not going to put up wins. This team is not going to win in Arizona, but they're going to put up spectacular numbers with Cliff Kingsbury's system. Next question is from the Catster, who says, if you had to choose an NFL team to be your second favorite, which one would that be? I would probably have to choose a NFC team, because just choosing another AFC team would feel wrong. I tend to go towards teams like the Bills, even though they're not in the NFC, they're in the AFC, because their fan bases remind me of Browns fans. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the Lions. They're just as tortured. I'm just attracted to pain and torture. So yeah, I would go with the Detroit Lion. Next question is from Mark Malafarina. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And they say, besides winning, what does Freddie Kitchens need to do for his first season as a head coach to be labeled a success? I think Freddie Kitchens needs to prove that he can handle a locker room when there is some kind of turmoil, when there is some kind of adversity. When he took over as offensive coordinator, the team started to get better immediately, so the adversity really wasn't there. So what Freddie Kitchens needs to show is that he's a guy who can pull up a locker room even if they lose a few games here and there, and keep the locker room steady. Now, do I have any doubt in Freddie Kitchens' ability to do that? No, but he does have to prove that he is able to do that. Of course, couple that with winning on the field, and just being steady Freddie, and he'll show himself to be a successful first-year head coach. But I think that's the most important thing. If there is an obstacle to be crossed during the season, can Freddie get his team through the storm without it being total chaos? And with the roster that he has, with the amount of star power that he has, that also means that it can become very volatile. And I think if he's able to weather the storm and get this team through some tough times, he will prove that he is going to be a very good head coach. And since he is under the Bill Parcells coaching tree, and if Bill Parcells was known for anything, was being able to manage certain relationships and get the best out of more needy players, then I think Freddie Kitchens is perfectly aligned to take care of that. The next question is from Eddie Hopper, who says, am I the only one who thinks Ravens QB Lamar Jackson will be a bust in his second season? I see the Pittsburgh as still a roadblock in the AFC North since he will struggle, but I'm not convinced that Jackson is the future QB for the Ravens. His numbers compared to the 2018 draft class don't come close regarding passes, etc. And can someone please convince me otherwise? Now, a lot of what you said is valid about Lamar Jackson's passing stats not being up to par with the rest of the draft class, but I will stop you here. Lamar Jackson's skill set is not just exclusively as a passer, so to just judge him exclusively as a passer does not really do him justice. It would be like criticizing Baker Mayfield for his ability or lack of ability to scramble for a lot of yards. But as far as Lamar Jackson goes, no, he does not put up the great numbers that a Baker Mayfield did or show the potential through the air that a Sam Darnold did in his rookie year. But what he did show was that he's able to be the quarterback of a team that can win games. He's able to contribute. He's able to be an offensive force. Most importantly, that his skills as a runner translate to the NFL. Now, whether he's able to stay healthy is another thing, but it didn't seem like that really was a problem last year with Baltimore. And I think when you judge Lamar Jackson as a passer, you kind of have to judge it with his running ability in mind. So while I think Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield are never going to put up similar stat lines, but again, as I said in the earlier video, if Lamar Jackson can just become credible in the pocket, can just become a consistent threat to drop back, not necessarily a dangerous threat, but one that you have to respect, similar to what Michael Vick was, even though Michael Vick was a much more prolific passer than I think Lamar Jackson projects to be. But if he's able to just become a standard quarterback when he drops back, he will be one of the most dangerous quarterbacks to handle in the NFL because of how great he is on his feet. And when you look at a prospect like Lamar Jackson, sure, it's easy to compare passing stats, but I would urge you to think about how dangerous he is on his feet and think about how dangerous he would be if you really had to respect his pass. And he doesn't really have to do a lot to get to that point. Again, he only really has to throw for over 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, over 10, and less than 10 interceptions. That's like a bad Andy Dalton stat line. He doesn't have to be the greatest drop back quarterback. He just has to be credible. And if he gets to that point where he's credible, he will be very, very hard to stop for a lot of NFL teams. The next question is from Iman Garg, who says, who are your top predicted and less obvious underperformers and overperformers for 2019 Browns? Underperformers. I would say somebody I think is going to underperform would probably be Christian Kirksey. Coming off of an injury, a lot is expected of him. He's supposed to be the leader of this defense, but I think his production will take a little bit of a step back this season. It's going to be more crowded at the position. There's going to be more talent, more youth at the position, and he's also going to be another year older, trying to come back from an injury, which is going to also hurt him. If there's somebody who I think is going to overperform, I think Joe Schobert is definitely a candidate. I think he's very underrated and overhated because a lot of people give Joe Schobert a lot of flack, but they don't necessarily highlight what he's good at, and he is an extremely good coverage linebacker, and what he was asked to do in the Greg Williams system never really fit what he was great at. So I think Joe Schobert, given a role that he's more suited for, is going to really pop this year. Another guy that I think is going to overachieve this year is going to be Rashard Higgins. He's in a contract year. He is in a good position, especially if Antonio Callaway cannot get everything together, to be able to get a lot of snaps and to be able to put together a really solid season going into a contract year so he can be paid next free agency. The next question is from Otaka Moyo, who says, do you think the Ravens offense will struggle with others having a full year of tape on them? I think a lot was shown in the San Diego game where San Diego had tape, and they were able to figure out a way to combat what the Ravens are doing. Now, with the whole tape argument, a lot of times we have this discussion about teams having a year of tape on them, and frame that argument as if the other side is not aware that teams are going to have that tape on them, that they can change things up. I think at the end of the day, the Ravens are going to be able to run the ball as long as Lamar Jackson can be a credible passer. Lamar Jackson is too talented on his feet. They have way too many good running backs. Their offensive line is way too good to not be able to run the ball. And I don't really think any amount of film is going to completely shut that down. Good talent is good talent, and the Baltimore Ravens have a lot of good talent in that run game. So they're going to be able to run the ball no matter what scheme they have. So while, yes, it does come into play when it comes into Lamar Jackson and some of the more gimmicky things they did to get around his lack of ability to be able to throw the ball last year, but when it comes to the run game as a whole, as long as Lamar Jackson can be credible behind that pocket, which they're depending on him to be, then they will be fine. The next question is from Giants Nation, who said, what's up, bro? Got another great thinking question here for you, laughing emoji. And do you think my Giants should have took Sam Darnold or any other QB in 2018, or did they get it right with Saquon Barkley? Love Saquon, but he doesn't equal wins like a QB does. Yeah, see, the thing with picking Saquon Barkley and the problem why running backs can't be drafted high in a draft isn't because running backs necessarily don't have value. A guy like Saquon Barkley is somebody who can uplift an offense, but a guy like Saquon Barkley is not really useful unless you have a quarterback who can get you to playoff contention. And that is what happens, and that's why I don't think it's ever smart for a team that's picking with their own pick in the top 5 to draft a running back in the top 5, because if you're in that position, more than likely you don't have the things around you to be able to make the playoffs with just adding an elite running back. Now, Saquon Barkley is going to be one of the top running backs in the league for a very, very long time. I don't doubt that. But the question is, if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, if he does not become a franchise quarterback or something close to it, then are you going to lose a lot of what you had in the value of Saquon Barkley going 6-10, 4-12, or 8-8? And that's the real question here. The Giants made a win now decision with the thought of having Eli at quarterback and Odell Beckham at wide receiver, and now they traded Odell, and Eli is about a year or two away from retirement if he's not already there playing skill wise. So yeah, in hindsight, it was a mistake to draft Saquon over Sam Darnold. But that being said, we don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be good, and we don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be good, because if Daniel Jones pans out, then it makes sense to have gotten Saquon, because he is a true once-in-a-generation type talent at that position that you're really not going to be able to find in any other subsequent draft. So a lot depends on how Sam Darnold develops, and of course on how Daniel Jones develops, because if Daniel Jones becomes a playoff caliber QB, then everything kind of worked out for you. The next question is from Twitter, and if you want to ask me questions on Twitter, which if you do, it's a lot more likely they'll end up on the show, and I do answer any tweet that you tweet at me most of the time on Twitter, so you'll get your question answered almost 100% of the time. Please follow me on Twitter at QnC, KWEN_C. Follow me. But this question from Twitter comes from CJ Heidman, who says, at QnC, am I insane for thinking Jannard Avery will be a breakout star this season? I can see him in so many packages kicking Myles Garrett inside, so both get amazing pressure, potentially quite a bit of a 5-2-4 bear formation. Yeah, and they did a lot of this last year with Greg Williams, where they would kick Myles Garrett inside, have Jannard Avery rush on the outside with, I think Emmanuel Agba even came inside. They would put like Chris Smith out there, or even Joe Schobert, because he's also been a rush outside linebacker in a 3-4 before. Jannard Avery, I think he could have a great year, depending on how he's used. I don't know a lot about Steve Wilks, so I don't know how much faith to have that he really fits what Steve Wilks' philosophy is. He's more of a guy who fit in Greg Williams' system, which is why I worry about him. And also, one of the things that I worry about with Jannard Avery is his coverage ability. He showed some flashes of being able to cover last year, but he also had a lot of bad snaps when asked to cover last year. So it's going to be a 50-50 bag with Jannard. It's going to be about his development. He was only a rookie last year. He did make a lot of plays last year. So I do trust that he has some playmaking ability in him. And he does give the Browns amazing flexibility, because he is a very, very good pass rusher for a guy who can also be a stand-up linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here with Jannard Avery. I don't think you're crazy for thinking that he could have a breakout season. I would say as far as a breakout goes, though, I wouldn't be on that train with you, just because it's going to be real crowded there for Jannard Avery with Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi, and Olivier Vernon all being kind of those sack master type players. The next question, and the last question of the day, comes from Yepe Person. Yeah, I got that wrong. But they ask, most underrated player on the Browns. Most underrated player on the Browns. If Joe Schobert is the most overhated player on the Browns, who is the most underrated? I mean, Demarius Randall is pretty underrated. Nick Chubb, I think, is extremely underrated. Shart Higgins, yeah, he's underrated, but a lot of people kind of know that. I think this is going to be a off-the-wall prediction, don't hold me to this, but I think the guy who's going to prove to be the most underrated Brown and the most underrated signing of this offseason is going to be Demetrius Harris, the 6'8" tight end they signed from Kansas City last year. He has a lot of athleticism. He is a good inline blocker, and he will be a tremendous red zone threat with his ability to box out. He is a former power forward, and I think he played for Green Bay, Wisconsin, one of those Horizon League teams. So he's a former Division I basketball player, tremendous athleticism, tremendous size, and I think he's going to be a great target for Baker Mayfield to throw to be able to throw some lobs and some fades in the end zone. I think you're going to hear the name Demetrius Harris a lot during camp and during the season. So I would go with Demetrius Harris. Now, please, Demetrius Harris, don't let me down. And don't get cut, because that would make me look really bad. But that's going to be it for all of the questions this week. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload, and I upload 3 times a week. And if you have a buck or two to spare, please consider joining the Patreon account, where you can have your name added to the bottom of this bar here in this nice little ticker bar that I have for you. And you can show that off to your friends and, you know, have fun while you watch my video and watch your name scroll across the screen. But that is going to be it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.